would like to welcome you to Toronto. There are a few housekeeping things that we want to go over first before we kind of start with our first presentation. So as a courtesy, please, we would like your pagers for all of us that have still those, and cell phones to be on vibrating, so that this is not disturbing to our presenters. We really want to thank our partners. We have had a lot of support putting this together, and we really appreciate all the help of all our partners. Yeah. Do you want to?
Sure. I just wanted to tell you about a few of our partners. Studio Locale did the design for all the print material that you have. They helped our Julia with the logo, to actualize the logo that she'd come up with. And they'll be here later today just to witness this event. The Kids Up Front Foundation helps kids in Toronto who don't have access to cultural events, sporting events, theater, get a chance to see these events, and they've actually donated some passes to our event for our families. So at the reception desk, we have passes to the Art Gallery of Ontario, the Hockey Hall of Fame. They helped us with the Jays caps that our children are receiving, and we're very grateful to them. Porter has been our partner for our airline today, for some of you who've flown in from their destinations, and we are grateful for their help. And then we're also very grateful to the APS Type 1 Foundation in the US, who have also been a terrific support for our symposium today.
So the children's activities are going to be taking place in room 3B. So that is one floor up. So if you take the elevator, it's on the right side of the building, and it's the first room in that corner. So parents will, if any of you need to have access to your kid at any time, we're happy to guide you how to get there. Or we're going to also have volunteers that are going to be easily to access if you need to get hold of your kid. Washrooms are in the second hallway to the right. You'll see the signs. For those of you going to the Jays game, do you want to kind of give a little bit more?
Sure. So some of you have signed up to go to the Jays game tonight. We're very excited. If you could meet at 6:15 in the lobby, and we'll head down as a group. I think everyone who ordered tickets should have their tickets with them. And we actually have 4 extra tickets. So if you did not request tickets and you would like, we have 2 extra tickets. I'm so glad they're being used. So we have 2 done. 1, we have 1 extra ticket.
It's an auction.
So if at the end of the lunchtime, if that 1 extra ticket is still there, we'll offer it to one of our volunteers. So thank you. I'm glad everyone's joining in. Tomorrow, we have a walking tour of Chinatown that's been organized, and I think 25 of you have signed up. And so you'll meet in the hotel lobby at 4 p.m., and there will be a fair bit of walking and a streetcar ride involved in that. And I forgot to thank one of our partners, which after seeing last night's reception is, I think some of you might enjoy this. The Steam Whistle Brewery has offered us free passes for some of their tours. It's one of our local breweries in Toronto. And, and those passes are also at the reception desk.
Okay. So for those of you that need access to the internet, this is the password, Be Our Guest. And probably the only disclosure that I have to make is that I'm a pediatric dermatologist. I'm not an expert on APS-1. And probably because many of you are wondering what am I doing here and why I'm involved in this, I'll start by telling you that story. So the beginning, there it is. So this rash is what probably brought Julia and her family close to dermatology. So when Julia presented, she presented episodes of fever and rash with other kind of non-specific symptoms. So this kind of urticaria-like rash that you see in the picture is very similar to what Julia presented. And this is what kind of brought dermatology into the picture. We have heard that other patients have presented a similar looking rash. And at the beginning, it was really probably, I guess everybody was not very bored of seeing dermatology because this rash was not specific. We were not able to make a diagnosis at this stage, and it just was something that kept bringing Julia to the attention of doctors, and we were not able to provide a diagnosis this early on. So when I started my fellowship 10 years ago, that's when we first met, and we kind of have had a relationship since for many, many years now. Probably a few things about this rash. So we call it urticaria-like rash because it's not true urticaria. It was not particularly itchy. Sometimes urticaria has a very migratory pattern. It comes and it goes. This one was present for the episodes of fever, and then it kind of went away once the fever resolved. So it was not true urticaria, it just looked like it. If you kind of take a look, it kind of had that kind of same pattern. And it's not very specific because many other dermatological conditions can have a similar looking rash. I think the relationship with the dermatology was also important because after many months and many other symptoms developing, it was another dermatological finding, this time vitiligo, that brought the diagnosis to the table. And it was actually dermatology that suggested the diagnosis to the team looking after Julia. So after the diagnosis was established, a different journey began, and Jennifer will tell you of this next journey.
After Julia was diagnosed with APS-1, our family began the process of learning about the disease and how to best care for our daughter. There was a lot to learn on the medical front, but even more questions about what the long-term prognosis would be and about how the disease works. Our efforts to meet other families were at first futile. We were told that of the few families in Toronto, none were willing or ready to meet another family. When we searched online, we found little information, and even on the rare disease groups, I often found I was the only member from representing APS-1. It took years, but thanks to families, friends, scientists, clinicians, Todd Tallarico's famous email group, and a Yahoo online group, we met families and researchers virtually and on the phone. Before yesterday, we had only ever met 3 individuals with APS-1, 2 in New York City and 1 at the NIH. Everyone we spoke to was looking for more information, and it was clear that we needed to build a network. After many discussions with our doctors here at SickKids, scientists at UCSF, my sister, Dr. Dana Orange, the idea of a North American APS-1 disease registry was born. We hoped that by creating a database of patients that could be connected to research, we could help other patients be diagnosed more quickly than Julia was, and to foster research that would support better management of the disease. We created Julia's Fund at the SickKids Foundation to raise the money we would need for a registry and for research. And to date, we've raised over $90,000 with over 325 donors. Thanks. And I want to tell you how we raised most of that money because it was an incredible experience for us. We asked our friends to host dinners for their friends. And the idea was that they would invite their friends over, cook dinner for them, and then ask their friends to donate what they would have spent on dinner out to Julia's Fund. That was it. The results were astonishing. People we knew, and some we didn't know, hosted dinners all across North America. In Europe, there were dinners in Paris and the Netherlands, and there were dinners in Japan. And then everyone raved about how nice it was to sit down with a group of friends and learn something about this rare disease. There is something compelling about Julia's story and about the APS-1 story, and we need to continue to practice telling it. The stated goals of this symposium are to share the latest developments in the basic science, clinical research, and management of APS-1, to identify priorities for future work, and to foster a community that acts as a catalyst for research, diagnosis, and treatment of the disease. This symposium couldn't come at a better time. Research in APS-1 is accelerating internationally, as is basic science research in genetics, immunology, and autoimmunity. The APS study at the NIH is in full swing, and we expect groundbreaking publications to start coming out in the next year.
No pressure.
And we also celebrated this year the founding of the APS Type 1 Foundation in the United States, which is leading fundraising for research in the US. And today, you are all here. We are incredibly grateful for the support we have had in putting together this conference. We have 20 incredible speakers from around the world and 20 families represented. This symposium is the first of its kind, and what a start we are having. In this meeting, we have purposely mixed scientists, clinicians, patients, and families. You are all in the same room and at the same table and on panels together. You are all experts in an aspect of this disease. And during the next 2 days, we ask you to share your knowledge with those around you and to listen. We have high hopes for the cross-pollination of ideas that will happen here and that will continue to percolate long after you've left this beautiful building. American anthropologist Margaret Mead famously stated, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." I have no doubt that this group of thoughtful, committed citizens is going to change the world in both small and profound ways. Thank you for coming. Let's get started.